So, it was a brother versus brother match, and the brother John's Baltimore Ravens beat the brother Jim's Los Angeles Chargers on Monday Night Football. And honestly, this one had everything. Family drama, playoff-level intensity, and a lot of frustration if you're a Chargers fan. What just happened with the Chargers, I don't know. If you're keeping track of the Chargers this season, this loss feels like a step backward, again. I mean, you watch a game like that, and it's hard not to feel frustrated. They had every chance to pull off a win, but instead it felt like they were tripping over their own feet. Missed tackles, penalties, and just, maybe, a couple of bad decisions. It's like they were handing the game to the Ravens on a silver platter. And yeah, the Ravens were solid, but let's be real. This loss was more about what the Chargers didn't do than what the Ravens did. So, what's going on here? Why can't this team get out of its own way when it matters most? Let's break it all down, because there's a lot to unpack from this mess. What's up, everybody? If you're just finding us, hit that subscribe button. We're your home for everything AFC West, right here on this channel. Coming into this game, the Chargers were 7-3 and looking to solidify their spot as serious playoff contenders. After a shaky start to the season, they were riding some momentum, winning 4 of their last 5 games. This matchup against the Ravens was supposed to be a statement, a chance to show they could compete with the AFC's best. Instead, they stumbled, and not because they were outclassed in talent, it was more about what they couldn't get right. This loss wasn't just a blip, it felt like a warning sign. Games like these are supposed to show what a team is made of, and for the Chargers, it raised more questions than answers. How does a team with so much promise keep letting these chances slip away? Let's dig deeper, starting with the one thing the Ravens used to dominate the game: the run. If there was one thing that completely tilted this game in the Ravens' favor, it was their run game. Derrick Henry looked like a freight train out there, piling up 140 rushing yards and making it look almost effortless. And then there was Justice Hill. His 51-yard touchdown run in the fourth quarter was the exclamation point that sealed the Ravens' win. The Chargers' defense just couldn't handle it. Without Denzel Perryman, one of their most physical defenders, the run defense looked lost. Missed tackles, blown assignments, and a total lack of gap discipline allowed the Ravens to control the clock and wear down the Chargers' front seven. And let's give credit where it's due, John Harbaugh's game plan was brilliant. He leaned into his team's strengths and forced the Chargers to stop the one thing they've struggled with all season: the power run game. Spoiler alert, they couldn't. You know what? When a team lets the opponent run all over them, it does more than just rack up yards. It demoralizes the defense. The Chargers' inability to adjust not only gave the Ravens control of the game, but it also exposed a glaring weakness that other teams are definitely going to notice. If the Chargers want to make a serious playoff push, this is a problem they need to fix, and fast. As frustrating as the Ravens' run game was, let's not pretend the Chargers didn't do themselves any favors. First, the penalties. There were moments where the Chargers shot themselves in the foot at the worst possible times. Did you notice that offsetting penalty in the fourth quarter? It erased what could have been a game-changing pass interference call that would have set them up deep in Ravens territory. Instead, they lost all momentum. And those flags? They kept piling up, killing drives and extending Baltimore's. You just can't win like that. Then there's the red zone execution, or lack of it. The Chargers made it down there a few times, but instead of touchdowns, they had to settle for field goals. Don't get me wrong, Cameron Dicker has been clutch all season, but you can't keep leaning on your kicker when you're facing teams like the Ravens. Finishing drives with 6 points instead of 3? That's how you win games like these. And let's talk about the drops. Quinton Johnston, who's shown flashes of brilliance this season, had a brutal drop on third down in the second half. It was one of those moments that just sucks the life out of a team. And sure, it's football, mistakes happen, but when you're in a tight game like this, every missed opportunity feels magnified. When you add it all up, penalties, wasted red zone chances, and untimely mistakes, it's no wonder the Chargers couldn't pull this one out. Another big problem was the lack of urgency. Down by just 1 touchdown in the fourth quarter, the Chargers had chances to mount a comeback, but instead of seizing the moment, they looked flat. Slow decision-making, conservative play calling, and an inability to convert on third downs. It was all there. Now, you can't talk about this game without addressing the battle on the sidelines. Jim versus John, brother against brother. It's a fun storyline, but when it came down to coaching decisions, there was a clear winner. And sorry, Chargers fans, it wasn't Jim. John Harbaugh's game plan was aggressive and calculated. He went for it on fourth down 3 times and converted every single one. Those gutsy calls didn't just keep drives alive, they sent a message. The Ravens were there to win, not play it safe. Even that failed two-point conversion attempt in the second half showed the kind of mindset John brought to the game. He trusted his team to execute, and for the most part, they delivered. Now, compare that to Jim Harbaugh's approach with the Chargers. It wasn't terrible, but it felt safe. When the Ravens started controlling the game in the second half, the Chargers didn't make the necessary adjustments to push back. The offensive play calling became predictable, and defensively, there didn't seem to be a solution for Baltimore's run game. It's not that Jim didn't try, it's just that John was a step ahead the whole night. Justin Herbert, impressive throughout this season, tried his best to do that against the Ravens. But I guess this wasn't one of his standout performances, and it's not entirely on him. The guy threw for 218 yards, made some clutch plays, and even ran for a touchdown, but he didn't get the help he needed. In the post-game interview, Herbert talked about how the team fought until the end, but you could tell he was frustrated. He mentioned the need to execute better in the red zone, and honestly, he's right. You can't keep relying on your kicker to bail you out with field goals when you're that close to the end zone. One thing you have to admire about Herbert is how he owns up to everything. When Quinton Johnston dropped that crucial pass in the second half, Herbert didn't throw him under the bus. Instead, he talked about how it's a team effort, how everyone needs to step up, and how he's going to keep trusting Johnston moving forward. That's the kind of leadership you want from your quarterback. But Herbert can't do it all. The offensive line needs to protect him better, the receivers need to make plays, and the coaching staff needs to put him in better positions to succeed. He's proven time and again that he's got the talent to win, but football is a team sport. And right now, the Chargers aren't giving him enough support when it matters most. So, where do the Chargers go from here? Sitting at 7-4, they're still in the playoff hunt, but losses like this one raise some serious red flags. The biggest takeaway from this loss is that the Chargers can't keep getting in their own way. Penalties missed red zone opportunities, and second-half slumps aren't things you can afford when you're fighting for playoff positioning. And let's not forget, the AFC is stacked this year. Teams like the Ravens, Chiefs, and Dolphins aren't going to give you any breathing room, so every mistake becomes magnified. The good news, the Chargers still have a shot to control their season. They've got games coming up against teams like the Falcons. Let's be real, not exactly the toughest competition out there. But here's the thing. They've got to show they can actually learn from their mistakes. I mean, the talent is obvious, no one's questioning that, but talent alone isn't enough to make a playoff run, especially when you're up against teams that know how to close out games and get it done when it counts. So, viewers, now it's your turn. What do you think? What is the biggest issue holding the Chargers back this season? And do you think the Chargers can fix their second-half struggles in time for the playoffs? And what's your take on the Harbaugh brothers' coaching styles? Who had the edge in this game? And most importantly, do you still consider the Chargers a serious playoff contender after this loss? And hey, if you're as frustrated by this game as we are, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and hit that bell so you don't miss any of our future breakdowns. This is a big moment for the Chargers. Can they rise to the occasion, or will this be another season of unfulfilled potential? Stick with us as we follow their journey.